Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Raising Healthy Mothers. I wanted to share something really momentous that has happened in my little world over the last couple of weeks. My fussy eater has started eating broccoli, and not just once either, like at least 3 times, and seems to actually genuinely enjoy it. And it's been a bit like opening the floodgates. After almost 3.5 years of really fussy eating, he's suddenly become quite interested in trying new food again. Okay, this has only been in the last couple of weeks, so who knows what's going to happen. And now that I'm talking about it, I've probably jinxed it. But it is momentous because it has felt like a long journey to get here. So in this episode, I wanted to talk about how it's happened, what led to this moment, and why I think it links so closely to the important role that we play as parents in modelling enjoyment in food, and the really important role we have in making sure that we keep food a non-pressured environment. And this is a story really close to my heart because if you've been a long-time listener of the show, then you'll know that he's basically stopped eating when his little sister was born, and that was almost 3.5 years ago now. And for a long time his repertoire barely shifted, and if anything it got more narrow as time went on. And while there were times when I wanted to beg and bribe and sneak nutritious options into his food, I was really wary of what that would do to him in the long term in terms of his relationship with food and trust in me. And truthfully, now that he has started trying more food, the fact that it happened on his own terms taught me a really valuable lesson about food, parenting, and, to be honest, self-care too. Before I dive in though, I just want to say if you are a mum with a fussy eater, I see you. I know how exhausting it can be. There have been many nights where I've cried on my husband's shoulder, just so tired of having to think about what to feed him again. You want them to eat well, like it's such a deep desire in you. But you know, what was perfectly acceptable a few nights ago is suddenly completely unacceptable and never again for another few years. I've been there and I really know what it's like. I genuinely never thought I would see the day when he would start eating, trying new food again. Because to me, it's not even so much about the exact what he was eating. It was the fact that he just wouldn't even try new food. So I really hope that today's story gives you a little bit of hope and maybe, you know, a bit of a fresh perspective, something new to try. So just to give you a bit of context, in case you haven't heard my previous episodes on my experience with fussy eating. So as most of us do, when I became a mum, I was certain that I would do all the right things from the very start to ensure that I wouldn't get fussy eaters. So I had a really diverse diet during pregnancy and I was exclusively breastfeeding, so I made sure that I was eating lots of different food. Like I was really smug thinking that I was giving them that first flavour of food in the breast milk and in pregnancy as well. So when it was time to introduce food, I did baby-led weaning because I was so confident that this was the right way to avoid fussy eating. I was so sure that I would not get a fussy eater if we did baby-led weaning. And of course, again, I went for that really diverse food, lots of variety, lots of options to try every day. And it did work. It worked really well. He ate anything I put in front of him pretty much, and broccoli featured a lot. But then he hit 2 years old and it did start becoming a lot more restricted. I kind of expected it by then. I knew that it was a common thing to happen at that age, and I thought, it's a phase, he'll get over it. But then my daughter was born and overnight he literally stopped eating. Like he just went days without food. Thankfully he was still having breast milk, and obviously my supply increased dramatically with a newborn, so he was feeding quite a lot. And I'm really grateful for that because I knew that he was getting something nutritious through that breast milk, even if he wasn't actually eating food. Of course, eventually he did start eating again, but it was really not the food I wanted him to be eating. Like he was asking for ice cream for breakfast, and I really resisted this actually. But it was my dad who helped me here because he said, well, why not? At least he's getting something. It's got fat, it's got some protein in it. And honestly, that's all you wanted when you were his age. Now, I was a bit gobsmacked, to be honest. I knew I was fussy as a child, but I didn't think I was literally asking for ice cream for breakfast. Anyway, I did try to cajole him. I did try hiding veg in smoothies. Eventually, I did try the whole, just try one lick, one bite, one smell, whatever it is. I tried making a game out of it. All those usual tricks that you get advised to do. he didn't really fall for it. He just stayed in his own lane. He knew what he liked, he knew what he wanted, and he just was not going to try new food. And like I said, I really didn't want to try too much harder because I didn't want him to lose trust in me. That was really important to me, that I didn't kind of trick him into trying something new or bribe him or say that he couldn't have something else if he didn't eat his main. Like, to me, that just did not sit right with me. But of course, deep down, I felt horrendously guilty. I mean, I'm a nutritional therapist, and I still couldn't get my son to eat all the food that I think he needed to grow strong, to build a healthy brain, to build a healthy gut, all those things that I know far too much about when you're a parent of a fussy eater. I never stopped second guessing whether it was my fault and I shouldn't be doing more to get him to eat more variety. So let's fast forward then to, the last year, basically. So again, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll know that I've really been focusing on my own health and energy, and that has come through in the work that I've been doing as well in my group programs, in my resets, because part of that focus of health and energy has been on cooking food for me. Not just what I think the kids will eat or what's quickest to put together, meals that I genuinely enjoy. And it's been amazing because I have rediscovered my joy of cooking, and all the dishes I used to love making, I'm cooking again for me. And that feels good. That feels good for me. It's, in a way, it's a form of self-care to no longer say, I can't eat that food because such and such won't eat it, to actually cook food that I know is good for me and what I enjoy. And like I said, this has been the main premise for running the last couple of resets, because it is about saying, this is about you as mum saying, I matter too, and I'm going to cook the food that I want. And it's again going to be the focus for the January reset, which is starting this week. Anyway, over Christmas, the interesting thing that happened was that my son and I had this conversation about healthy eating. So at school, so he's in year 1 now, and at school they have this very black and white idea about healthy food and how they teach it to the children. And I'm not a really big fan of it. I think it's not a good idea to be really black and white and say some food are good, some food are bad, because it's too polarizing. And it there are some children, like my son, for example, who literally found it really hard to accept certain foods. So at home, I do try and be a little bit more balanced in the way we talk about food, and try and add a bit more nuance into it around the fact that some food are the kind of food that we can eat at any time. We always have it at home, that we always make that choice, while others we might choose to have on occasion, maybe outside of the home or just sometimes. To me, it's important to have that nuance, because otherwise we can come across as hypocritical if we say very black and white that certain food are good and bad. Then why are we ever buying it, right? But anyway, we talked about why vegetables are particularly important and what they do for the body. And I asked him whether there was any new vegetables that he wanted to try to that would help his body. And he thought he wanted to try broccoli. That's what he said, broccoli. I want to pretend to be a diplodocus. So for context, we do play this little game with his sister about dinosaurs eating tiny trees. I recommend it. It's really fun. Anyway, so I made the broccoli. I made it the next week, and I made it how I like it. Not just plain boiled broccoli. There was a little bite to it. I made sure it was nicely seasoned. It had a drizzle of olive oil, squeeze of lemon. That's how I like to eat it. So why wouldn't he as well, right? And he tried it, and he genuinely enjoyed it. Like, it was incredible to see him eating broccoli. It was tentative at first. He had a bite, and then he had the whole thing. And it was amazing. And it wasn't a fluke, because he has eaten it again a few times since then. And he's even tried other food as well that he would never have touched a couple of weeks ago. Mushrooms on a pizza. That was a huge surprise to me. And that was him completely off his own bat trying his little sister's pizza that had ham and mushroom on. And tonight he ate some cornbread, again, which a couple of weeks ago I don't think he would have tried. For a child who mainly survived on beige food and had a very strong preference for chocolate and sweets, I genuinely couldn't imagine him choosing to eat broccoli. And of course, he doesn't always want to try new food when I suggest it, or if I say, is there something new you want to try this week? He might say no. And that's okay, because that's his prerogative. He is allowed to make that choice. But the important thing to me is that he is curious again, and he's willing to try new food. And I've realized that neutral reaction, that neutral stance on you can try it if you like, but also it's okay to say no, I think that's what's made all the difference. I don't pressure him. And I try not to make a big deal as well about the fact that he's tried it. Like, I might say, I know how hard it is for him to try it, right? So I might say, hey, I'm glad that you tried that because you now have a new food, but I try not to make a big deal out of it. Although, of course, I want to be jumping up and down in celebration. I just make it available and let him decide whether he's going to eat it or not. So this experience has really reinforced something that I guess I've been reflecting on a lot. That when we as mums take care of ourselves, whether that's cooking something we love, whether that's finding time for movement or just slowing down and, taking time for ourselves, it genuinely does have a ripple effect on our families. My son saw me enjoying food without any pressure, and it sparked his own curiosity. It wasn't about fixing him, it was about modeling joy and openness to new things. And about that food being available for him to try when he's ready. If we don't make it available, if he never gets to see it, then why would he ever try it? So what do I hope that you take from this? Well, I guess first, if you've got a fussy eater, know that it's not your fault. I genuinely feel that, I thought did it the right way. I did everything I could to avoid having a fussy eater, and I got one. And I was one myself. I do actually really sympathise with what he might be feeling when it comes to new food or colours or textures that he doesn't like, because I feel like I've been through that too. Look, kids' taste change, clearly, and their relationship with food is a journey. It's not about fixing it overnight and thinking, if I do this one thing, they are going to change. They're going to suddenly eat all the food. It's about creating an environment where they feel safe to explore. And then secondly, I hope you take away that it is okay to prioritise yourself. If you've been making meals based on what your kids will eat, maybe try flipping the script for a few meals a week. Make something that you love. Enjoy it in front of them without any expectation that they're going to try it too. Make yourself matter as well. Say, we're going to write a meal plan all together as a family. We each get to choose one meal, including me, including your dad, including everyone in the family. Everyone gets a say. And you know what? You might be surprised at what happens. You'll certainly get a lot less kickback because they'll know that their choice is coming up, just not on every single day of the week. And I think the really important thing to say here is that I'm not a fluke. My son's not a fluke. And I know this because really similar stories have come up in the past resets that I have run last year. When people join the reset, they kind of make a determination that they're going to cook food for themselves that they enjoy, and they're going to maybe keep things a bit simple for the children for a little time. But genuinely, there have been some really incredible stories of how really fussy eaters have been curious and they have tried new food in that 1 week of kind of making that decision to just put themselves first. Now, I think a lot of the time we really underestimate our children's natural curiosity. We just forget to give them that opportunity to be curious because we stick to the same food that we feel confident that they'll eat. But when we rediscover our own joy in food again, our enthusiasm and interest in the food is going to rub off on them. And that can be hard to do because if you're stuck in a rut, then it's hard to feel enthusiastic about food, isn't it? That's exactly how I felt before I decided to just enjoy cooking again. And it was genuinely a humbling experience to discover exactly how much I had that influence, how much my own energy and positivity affects my children. And of course, on the flip side, how much any negativity is going to rub off on them if I'm exhausted and completely resentful about cooking food that I just didn't think was right for them. So you might have already seen that I am running another reset, and this time it is 4 weeks long. We start on Thursday, January 16th. So if this story resonates with you and you are listening to this in the week that this is released, then there is just about enough time to come and join us. The reset is all about helping you as a mum prioritise yourself. It's about making meals that are healthy and energizing for you, with the bonus that your family might just pick up on your example. But also know that there is absolutely zero guilt if you choose to feed them the easy options too. Imagine feeling more in control of your meals, feeling more energized with every single meal and less stressed about what is on everyone else's plate. The reset includes really simple, fresh recipe ideas and support to make it work for your busy life, for your context. I'm not living your life, you are. You know exactly what is going to work for you. So as I said, if you're listening to this in the week that the episode goes live, then there are a few more days to join in, so don't miss out. If you are listening to this after the 16th of January, then it might be too late, but please join my mailing list because I will be running them again later in the year. Thank you so much for listening. If you have your own fussy eating stories or just want to share what's been working for you and your family, I would love to hear from you. You can message me on Instagram. I'm at Tasha de Cruz if you don't already follow me, or you can drop me an email on tasha@tashadecruz.com. I am always open to chat in my emails or in my inbox on Instagram. Otherwise, I will see you next week for the next episode of Raising Healthy Mothers. Bye for now. If you found today's episode helpful, then please leave a review and rating and share it with anyone else who could benefit. And if you're a busy mum tired of cooking the same meals every week, then you need my free template meal plans guide. Say goodbye to your cooking rut and hello to effortless meal planning. To download the guide, head to tashadecruz.com/template.